pregnant and my husband had a vasectomy. So what? And they're like, well, we're going to have to first do a test to see what we're working with. Like there was some judgment there. And I was like, I
Yeah.
did not cheat on my husband. Like what?
Oh my
So
God.
it was just like kind of a weird, like I felt so, I think it's important to be exposed at a younger age.
Mm-hmm.
Like we aren't homeschooling anymore. I mean, I still feel like I am with my younger kids because it's so fun. Like it's my favorite part of my day, like
Yeah.
doing educational things with them. But our older two, they go to school. I was able to
Oh,
regain composure
yeah.
and I finished strong. Everyone clapped so loud. But when I sat down, I was mortified. I felt completely embarrassed. And that really stuck with me through elementary,
Yeah.
middle school, high school. And it wasn't until college when I realized I can change the narrative. Like, I don't have to be this afraid girl that's super shy, that is scared to speak in front of people. Like, I have a voice, you know?
Yeah.
Las opiniones expresadas en este podcast son responsabilidad de cada uno de los participantes.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are the responsibility of each participant.
Letty's podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Letty's podcast. Today, I am so excited because I get to see Hannah.
I am so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to see you after so many years.
I know. I was thinking it's probably been about 4 years.
Yeah, like 4.
Okay. That's too long.
And Hannah was my coach. She was one of my, you helped me reach my goal when I was going back to high school.
I was thinking about that because I feel like that is my ultimate goal, like helping people to reach their goals, because that's what I wanted, you know? Like that's what is so meaningful to me, to be able to see people. Like I love achieving things and then to be able to help, like kind of walk alongside other people. But you did it all yourself. There was nothing else.
But you were there to help that extra push, and because I went through a lot that year, or that last year. That last year, I remember my dad passed away. And like so many things happened, but I feel like the support.
You were always bringing like all of your kids along.
Oh,
or multiple of them.
It was.
And now I look at that and I'm like, how did you do that? Because now that I have a lot of kids, I'm like, that's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
But you inspire me because, like I said, when I haven't been on Facebook in so long.
Yeah.
And then I jumped on a couple weeks ago and I was thinking, I was like, what? Like, you actually started a podcast? Like, I'm so impressed. Like, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
So that's the coolest thing is like, you know, at some point, like you're inspiring other people, and that's just amazing.
I know. And then after that, we were coworkers.
Yes.
And like, it was like, how did this happen? Like in less than a year.
Yeah.
Because right away,
so hard.
Right away, like after graduation, I feel like I jumped into.
Yeah, and that was really special too because we were like in the same meetings and just like able to bond in a different way.
Yeah.
And so there was a transition there too.
Yeah.
I always, because I used to work in juvenile probation, and I worked as a truancy officer before coming to the Excel. And I was always thinking, if I am not completely professional, I will get fired. Like, I can't really form relationships with students or people, clients or whatever. And so it was really cool to experience being able to, like, we can be friends now.
Yeah.
Like, literally, this is not unprofessional. We can be friends.
And now, so you have 5 kids?
Yes. Yeah. So when I stopped working there, I was going to like homeschool my kids, and I was just ready for, like, I had 2 kids at the time, and I was just like, I want to, like, I've been working in the field for a while now, and I'm going to take a little breather. And it was literally, so it was like 2 months later, we went to Mexico.
Oh, yes.
We went to Mexico and we were vacationing in Mexico. It was my favorite trip because before then I had been one time, and then we were going for another trip. My husband, his parents have a house down there in Tlatelolco.
Yeah.
And they always vacation there every winter. And they're like, please come visit us. And I'm really adventurous and I love traveling. And it was just like such a fun experience.
Yeah.
But so I still remember we were having like margaritas, and we're like touring and going to like the water parks and like getting the good smoothies and just walking around in the amazing weather. And we were like, well, maybe try for baby number 3, like when we are getting back,
Yeah.
like, well, we actually ended up getting pregnant in
In
Mexico.
Mexico.
When I came back, I can still remember it was like so dreary, so winter here in Indiana. Like
Yeah.
we were just having the time of our lives, like with our 2 kids and like his
Yeah.
parents. It was just so wonderful. And then I had like the worst trimester ever. I was like in, like that depression, where you're just like so
Oh.
unmotivated. You just feel terrible. So I still remember we went to our 11-week like appointment, our very first appointment. And my husband says, my daughter's been praying that it's triplets. And she literally looks up at him and she's like, wait, there's literally twins in here. And I lost it. I had been feeling so bad ever since getting back from Mexico. And when we get back, it was just so hard. I was like, what? I also wanted to like be with my kids and be like going on adventures and having fun teaching them and just being so there, present. And I was just sick. And then I find out I'm pregnant with twins.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And this is like so that March, I felt like it was almost like that pivotal moment in my life, or like it was because then COVID happened.
Yes.
So it was just a season full of unknowns. That's
yes.
for sure. But yeah, so then we had the twins, boy girl twins. I mean, honestly,
That's so cute.
It was so cool. Like the experience of a lifetime, really.
Yeah.
And then my husband gets a vasectomy because we're done. We have 2 boys and 2 girls. It's perfect. We are like, I come from a big family.
Yeah.
So my family there's 7 of us. So it's not like I'm not used to it, but for myself, I told myself I never want to wake up one day and have 5 kids.
Yeah.
And I literally wake up every day and have 5 kids.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful, like literally so grateful for my kids. And they've taught me so much, but we were done after the twins. It was really challenging. I mean, looking back, there was things I should have done to make it easier. Like,
Yeah.
but I was just trying to do everything myself. And my husband is incredible and so supportive, but still having twins is a lot.
Is a lot. Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot from pregnancy until they're like 2 3/4.
Oh, yes.
That's my number.
Yes.
2 3/4. But then so it was like that next year. So they were a little over a year old. And I had planned a 5th year anniversary trip for my husband. It was a surprise trip to the Grand Canyon. And I was so excited. I had set up childcare. Like my mom was going to watch, it was like, we were going to leave. Like I was going to give this as a gift to him for Christmas. And we were going to celebrate at my parents' house. And he had no clue about it.
Oh.
And then we were going to leave and go to the Grand Canyon and just like have a couple of days just to ourselves. And we were so looking forward to that. 3 weeks before the trip, I'm like, I feel not good at all. Like, what on earth? And I was also, this might be TMI, I don't know, but I was like going to be ovulating during our trip. So I was like, oh, that's so perfect. Like, I'm just going to be, like when you're in your follicular phase, you're like, just feel so happy and so good. And I was like, this is going to be so fun. And I was like, why am I not starting my period? Why am I not starting my period? This is insane. And I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. My husband got a vasectomy.
Oh my
gosh. I remember I was like, it was like November. I was like, I'm going to walk to Dollar General. I just need to get out of my head. Like, I feel so bad right now. My twins are like literally a year and a half old. It's so much like intense at home, just taking care of all their physical demands.
Yeah.
And I'm like walking and I'm just thinking like, I know I'm pregnant. And how in the world can I be pregnant? Because I thought I would never. It's like with each phase of the twins, I was like, oh, it's so sweet. But now we're getting rid of all the stuff. Like,
yes.
It just, every phase, it was like a breath of relief. Like, okay, we made it through and now we're done. And I just wanted to like have fun with my older kids. And yeah, so I get a test. I come home, I take it instantly. 2 lines.
Pregnant.
Yeah, pregnant. And I just started like crying.
You were crying.
I was like, I felt so claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I could not believe. I was like, how? And so I like show my husband, he gets home from work and he just starts laughing. He thinks he's Superman. Like he thinks he's so, like we had gotten it tested. Like it was like the 6 weeks, it's like you're supposed to, you like taking the test and it said sterile. Complete.
Yeah.
So then I called the doctor and I'm like,
you're like, I'm going to sue you.
Literally pregnant. And my husband had a vasectomy. So what? And they're like, well, we're going to have to first do a test to see what we're working with. Like there was some judgment there. And I was like, I
Yeah.
did not cheat on my husband. Like what?
Oh my
So
God.
it was just like kind of a weird, like I felt so this was like right before the trip. So anyways, we went on the trip.
You
I
still
was
went?
nauseous the whole time.
Yeah.
The pictures look amazing, but I felt terrible inside. I was like, we are going to have
Oh.
3 kids under the age of 2. Like when we had
Yes.
our 5th baby, the twins weren't even 2 yet. So, um, we made it. I mean, we made it through, and
Yeah.
I'm so thankful. But yeah, so then he got tested again, and I guess like it can grow back.
But isn't
There's
it
like,
one in like how many?
you know what they say, it's not actually that uncommon.
It's not.
No, once it happens to you, then people are like, "Oh, I know it happened to them and them," and I think it might be like 1 in 300. That is not a statistic that like fact check
Yeah.
me for sure, but I think
But
it's actually more common than you think, which is crazy because I saw them do the surgery. They
yes.
literally like cut.
I
But like,
know.
wait, did he have a third one? Like what?
Oh, how?
I know. So
Yeah.
he got another vasectomy. So we're just praying.
Oh, that it works this
Yeah.
time?
I'm like, at this point, I'm like, you know what? Anything is possible. And that's what, like, I think I've learned the most is like, you have to be adaptable in life
Yeah.
because I love controlling everything. It's really fun to feel like in control and
Yeah.
that, like, you know, you're just on top of things, your house is clean. Like, I struggle with perfectionistic tendencies.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good at the end of the day to be like a more well rounded human. But in the moment, it's just so hard. I
Yeah.
remember thinking many times, I hate this. Like once we had our 5th, and it was just so much crying, so much loud noises.
I feel that you get like so overstimulated and that can cause you to like just have explode like I'm done like okay like
I remember after I would like text my husband, he'd be like at work, and I would just be like, I literally need help. I cannot do this.
yeah.
And I would, a way to like de-stress, I would like after the kids were in bed, I would take a bath and I would like literally turn the lights off and just like in the water. And sometimes I would like go underwater and I couldn't hear anything. That sounds so weird,
Yeah.
but I think it was like the best for me because it like shut out all noise,
Mm-hmm.
all stimulation. And now I'm like, what? I did that? I remember doing that. And the hardest thing was like, it's going to restart tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if they would get sick, it was like 24/7,
oh
you know? But,
yes.
you know, it's just, it's life.
I feel like it's also like a phase in like a little is
Season.
it yeah like a season but because I remember going through rough times with my kids and I only had 2 that were like back to back.
Okay.
But I remember and I also think that I was so young.
Yeah.
So I didn't have patience.
Yeah.
I didn't have the patience to like
Well, also, do
deal
you
with
think
it.
that because you were in that situation, it like that you learned more patience?
I did with my then other 2 younger ones.
Okay.
Because then they're 2 years apart, like 2.5 years apart.
Okay.
But there's a gap in between my 2 older ones and my 2 younger ones.
Okay. How big is that gap?
It's like 5 years.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you like that now?
I do like that now. And I did learn a lot from my 2 older ones. And now I was like, oh, now I know what to do with my other 2 when I had them, 5 years after.
Yeah.
I was also older. So I had more patience. I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And I had the patience to like sit with them and like read to them. And when I
And you
had
know
my
them.
other ones,
You know, the moment is fleeting. That's how I feel about my youngest. Now she's like 2.5. She's so fun.
yeah.
Like, I love her stage. She's hilarious. She talks all the time.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
just silly. Like, but I remember when the twins were 2.5, I was like, this is the hardest stage ever. But see, if they would like take off their diaper in their crib and make a big mess, which happened. That's just like one example, it was like both of them would like do it. Or it would be like, oh my
Oh,
goodness, now I need to like clean up this mess
yes.
and then get you. And then everyone's always starving the second they wake up. And then I have like a
Yeah.
baby crying. But now it's like if she takes off her diaper, I'm like, you are so funny, little girl. Like, why are you taking off your diaper? You want to be
Yeah.
potty trained. But I was like, I refused. Because with the twins, I tried to potty train them before she was born because I was like, they have to be big kids.
Yeah.
And that ended up being like a 9-month thing. I was like way too stubborn. And that is definitely a regret that I have. Why did I put myself through that?
Yeah. And didn't you also want what I kind of remember you not wanting to use diapers or
Oh my
or certain
goodness.
type of diapers.
I can't even believe you
Was
brought
it?
that up. I, for a season, for about 8 weeks, I cloth diapered the twins.
I
Which
remember.
sounds crazy, but my mom did that with like all of us until my baby brother. And so it wasn't that, and I just like, oh, it's like a fun challenge. Like, we're going to be saving money on diapers. And my husband was like, that is a really bad idea. And I
Because
was
you were
like,
having two, right? It was with the
yeah,
twins.
yeah. And I was like, no, it'll be totally fine and fun. Like, I bought these like cute cloth diapers, you know?
Yeah.
And then one day he comes home and he's like, this is from his perspective. He like comes in the backyard on the way into the house. And I had just like completely thrown the diapers out. I was like, I am done. You were right. I was wrong. What was I thinking? This is putting me over the edge. Why?
Yeah.
For what? Just buy diapers. He's
Yeah.
like, thank you.
How long did you do that
I
for?
did that for 8 weeks. That was it.
Oh,
Just 8 weeks. Yeah, I know. It was not worth it.
I think I remember. I don't know how.
Maybe is that when you came over? When I was cloth
Maybe.
diapering?
I think so. I think that
I'm so
because
embarrassed.
I'm like, I remember her doing that, but let me think. Was it with the twins or?
So those are the things that you learn. I feel like that's what it's like. You get wisdom.
Yes.
You're like, never again would I potty train when they're
Yeah,
not even
no.
2 yet. Never again would I cloth diaper. I mean, the list could go on and on.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's fun now,
Yeah.
because those things that don't really matter, you're just leaving them behind.
Yeah.
Like now, the kids, like if you were to go to my house right now, like unless we're getting ready for something, they just wear whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. But I
Yeah.
used to. It's like, you look like a little,
I know, because you want them to look
Ragamuffin.
cute or you
know.
want them. I know. And that's how, well, now that my kids are all older, like I can't pick out their clothes
No.
anymore. So
Well,
I'm
I saw your son. He's trending. He is stylish. The
okay.
baggy jeans, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
The jacket. I'm like, what jacket is it? Because it has like
It's-
the
it's-
colors
Like
that.
I said, I like am around college students
Yeah.
all the time now, and I'm like, it's so interesting. I bought my daughter this pair. She said she wanted Crocs,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, Crocs are so disgusting. You really want Crocs? And then I was like, okay, well, I've seen some like students wearing them on campus. They're okay. Like they're chunky. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I buy her these like vanilla, like pretty chunky, and she loved them. They looked cute.
Yeah.
She wore them to school, and like in 5th grade, like I think they she said she heard people being like, do you like Arabella's shoes? And she's like,
Oh.
Mom, I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I totally bought you the wrong pair of shoes. I'm like, I
Oh,
promise
so
they are stylish.
yeah.
Like people like college students wear them. She's like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not in college.
Oh.
And she's like, I heard one of my friends say, I personally really like them. But she's like, the other ones were disagreeing. And it's just so interesting because in 5th grade, it's just, you just want to fit in.
Yeah.
You don't want to like stand out necessarily. And so
Yeah.
I made an error there. But yeah, you
But,
just got to let them like
yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, that's how it is with, I feel like all ages have their thing going on. And like here at my house, it's like I have a older two and then younger two. So it's like, how do I avoid my younger one listening to the music that my older one listens? And it's been like a challenge.
Yes, I can't imagine that would be.
So I'm like, okay, why are you listening to that? Oh, because your brother listens to it. Like, how do I, how do I not let that happen?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Well, I was actually just thinking about that with our summer plans, because it's so tempting to put them in all the camps and the fun things. And I was like, I love being active with the kids, but I was thinking, you know what? I really want to have like shared family experiences. And I feel like we have to adapt a little bit more, because now that my oldest is getting older, she cares more about different things than like the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, we need to get more purposeful about how can we, like, we used to like go to the Purdue Fountains or like go to Lake Michigan, or, we can't just like go to like a park and expect that like everyone's going to be having fun. But how can we like go to the Chicago Zoo? Just making it more like we're all bonding.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of times, like at this age, for me, I guess, it's like we put the youngest three to bed, and then like my husband and I will stay up and we'll play games with the
Oh,
older
with the older
kids.
kids.
And, sometimes you just have to divide and conquer. And so it's interesting hearing from your perspective
Mm-hmm.
that like there can be that gap. And then
Yeah,
it's like, I feel like you just have to be purposeful in some ways to
I know.
try and kind of bring everyone back together.
Together. Yeah, because like I also not too long ago we went to Disney on Ice and I took my older ones and they were just sitting there like
Exactly.
and I
That's a
was like,
perfect example.
It's fun, isn't it?
No, yeah,
Like
they're like, no, I'm totally checked out.
yeah. So then this year I was like, okay, you guys don't want to go, right? I'll just get the younger
Yeah.
ones tickets. And then one of them was like, no, I want to go. And I was surprised because I'm like, well, you didn't look so happy last time. And I did say that. I was like, well, last time you didn't look so happy. You were just sitting there like you were bored.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I want to go.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll get him. And then my older one, I was like, he's going to say no.
Yeah.
Well, the day we left, he was like, you really didn't get me a ticket? I was like, I didn't think you want to go. But it's hard to find things that they all want to do.
It's good to hear that from them. Though.
Yeah.
I think it's so important just to ask them, like, what is important to you? Because I think sometimes we just assume. I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
my oldest, she was in cross country in the fall. So I was like, felt like I was being the most supportive parent. Like my husband and I both, like we were going to these like meets. It was like super hot. We were taking all the kids with us. And I just remember being like, I feel like I'm such a good mom right now. Like she is, must feel so supported.
Yeah.
Well, then she wrote a narrative essay about her experience
Oh.
later. And I felt like whenever I was like in the story, it was like in an almost negative aspect. I was like, okay, this is really humbling for me. I think sometimes, even though we're there, we might not. I just think you have to check in with your kids. Like,
Yeah.
literally just asking them, like, okay, what is actually important to you? So I'm not doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
Like taking them to Disney Eyes.
Yes.
If it's not meaningful.
I know,
So-
but see, that's when I was like, well, I didn't think you would want to go. So
Yeah.
then I felt bad
Yeah.
because I didn't take the older one.
Yeah.
Then I felt bad and I was like, oh, next year.
Yeah.
Well, you want to come next year? Because it's only once a year.
Yeah. That's so true.
And my daughter, because she feels like she's
Well, you have one girl and three boys.
only one girl,
Okay,
yes.
Okay, so that's interesting too, like a different dynamic.
yeah, but she feels like she's all grown up and she didn't want to go.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, we're going.
Yeah.
I want you to go and we're all going to go. And so it was funny because when we were there, she loves all the princess because when she was little, she thought she was a princess. She still thinks she's a princess because
still
she's the
your
only girl.
princess.
Yes. And so a couple days after we were there, she was like, Mom, I almost cried. And I was like, why? She's like, because I don't want to grow up. And because I saw all the little girls with their dresses and I used to wear those dresses and I just don't want to grow up.
Yeah. When you like have that realization.
Yeah. So then I was
Do you
like,
feel that way?
I do.
As an adult?
I used to be, and that's how it is when we're little, we want to grow up. And now when we're, grown up, we want to be little again.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
But I was shocked because I was like, oh, really? Like, I don't want you to grow either.
I know.
Yeah. So she's like, yeah, I almost cried because I saw those little girls and I remember when I used to wear those dresses and
It's so interesting because I feel like I almost feel the opposite. Like I am so excited for like even though it's like kind of emotional when a season is ended, and I'll probably feel different when I'm like truly not in the younger kid age.
yeah.
But I like get so excited thinking about them like just like getting exposed and being able to like experience things and like adventure and like going off to
Yeah.
college. And I don't know what it is about that time. I think it's just I've just realized like I'm not really like, and maybe I just got burnt out, but like a younger
Yeah.
kid, like the baby stage, I'm like,
You don't want it.
and I'm just really looking forward to as they maybe we're just in the sweet spot right now. But as
Yeah.
they like just seeing their interest, like I would have never expected like my daughter to be so into like the violin. Like she's so good at playing
nice.
the violin.
Yeah.
Or like my son, he's just like all about STEM. Like which is just so curious to me because that's not my personality. And so I'm like, we have 3 more kids. And as we're just like watching them
Yeah.
get older and like what they're interested in, it's very cool.
And yeah, that they all have their own personality
Mhm.
too. And so your twins are, you said 4, 5?
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
So how would you do it when they were like starting to walk?
Yeah,
How
honestly,
would
I
you?
remember like I would always be asking other twin parents how, like, any advice.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'd say, like, I don't even remember those years. And I'm like, there's no way that I will be like that. But truly, it's hard. It all does seem like a blur. But I just remember it was just hard going anywhere because, like, I love being outside.
Yeah.
And so, but just to go outside, like, I remember being like, I can't wait for them to be able to walk where they can, like, I can open the door and they can walk out.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it was like I would carry one out and then I would carry another one out and get them situated. And then I'd have the older ones. And then, like, which wasn't born until they were like almost 2 years. So that would have been a little after this stage. But it just seemed like a lot of work just for all of us to go outside.
Yeah.
Um,
Or to
but
get
yeah.
to even the store. I can
Yeah.
only imagine. Would you go to the grocery store with them?
No,
Yeah,
I wouldn't. And
no.
a lot of times, and I am like, and this isn't the experience of every twin mom, but like my husband is incredible. He was and he is. Like he so hands-on. Like the second he'd get home from work, he would just jump right in and do whatever was needed. So a lot of times like I would go grocery shopping then, or I would just like
Okay.
get out of the house, or I was teaching online at that time too. So I would like just get work done, like just to clear my head. And that
Yeah.
was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're in person, right? Teaching in person?
Yeah, so it was 3 years ago. It was when I was pregnant with Psalm, actually. So I was teaching online for like a community college, and then I like got the opportunity to teach in person at Purdue. And I
Okay.
was so scared because I was thinking, I am such an imposter. Like, am I really, because I teach presentational speaking,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually that's been a journey for me. Like when I was in elementary, I went to a small private school, and I can still remember I was supposed to do a presentation, but since the school is so small, I actually had to deliver the presentation to the entire school. And I can still remember I was so nervous, and I memorized my entire presentation because
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, the morning of,
Yeah.
and I can remember like walking in and going up and standing in the front, and I started so strong with this presentation that I was giving. I can still remember it was on about Corey ten Boom. She was a survivor of the Holocaust. I was like dressed up like her. Starts really strong, and then I completely freeze. And my older sister was in the audience, and because she had heard me practice so many times, she actually just started where I left off, and I was able to regain
Oh.
composure,
Yeah.
and I finished strong. Everyone clapped so loud. But when I sat down, I was mortified. I felt completely embarrassed. And that really stuck with me through elementary,
Yeah.
middle school, high school. And it wasn't until college when I realized I can change the narrative. Like, I don't have to be this afraid girl that's super shy, that is scared to speak in front of people. Like, I have a voice,
Yeah.
And so I still remember in my college speech class, I practiced 7 times, delivered incredible presentation. At least the teacher graded me. I think I got like a 98%. And that's when it was like, okay, I don't have to be stuck.
Yeah.
And but I still like then I studied criminal justice. I got I got a minor in communications, and then I was working in the field of probation, and I was truancy officer. And but after a while I realized that the field is pretty dark. You can only read so many like DCS reports, and I was like
Yeah.
seeing a lot of burnout, and I realized I don't really want this like for the rest of my life. And so that's when I like went back to school. I started like researching programs, and I was like, I think communications. And so I went back to school, and this was around the time when I was working at the Excel Center, and I got my master's in communications. I became dual credit certified. So you might remember I taught
Yeah.
a public speaking class at the Excel Center. But then when I got the opportunity to go to Purdue, I remember in the interview, I was like, I feel like an imposter. And she's like, your resume, you are not. This is a presentation speaking class. It's not a public speaking class. You think of public speaking like you're on a TED Talk stage where you are delivering to like the president would be giving,
Yeah.
like, this is a public speaking situation. But when it's presentational, it's like everyone has opportunities to speak, whether it's in an interview or a situation like this,
Yeah.
or you're presenting something at your job. And I was like, oh, I actually do have experience with that. I have, like when I was a truancy officer, I had to stand in court and advocate for families or speak to whatever situation we were dealing with.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was in probation, I had to mediate between like parents and kids that were upset or maybe even mad at the system, which I totally understand, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't understand it from like my own experience, but I could like empathize and be like, yeah, this is just a frustrating situation. Like you made a wrong choice, but we all have, you know,
Yeah.
like, and then when I was at the Excel Center, I was like recruitment chair and I had some other opportunities, and that's all presentational speaking. And so I just realized like I want to keep empowering people to like use their voice, because at least like when my students come in now, like at Purdue, you know, it's face-to-face class and I love that. I'm honestly like kind of almost like tired of teaching online classes because there's just not that same engagement.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah. And so when my students from at Purdue come into class on the first day, I can just see the look on their faces. And, you know, at least 75% of them struggle in some way with communication apprehension.
Yeah.
And that's most people. And like people would rather be in a room full of snakes than actually speak
in front of people.
Or people would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy at a funeral. And
Yeah.
that blows my mind, but it doesn't, because I was that girl.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, even though we feel like, how can I do this? I'm not like going around and speaking. So what like qualifications do I have? I think because I understand the anxiety that can come,
Yeah.
I think I can really empathize and hopefully be like a better teacher as a
Yeah.
result. So I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm always so inspired. I mean, people from around the world in the same classroom, their stories are just incredible. And I get to be
Yeah.
there for that. And so it's really
Yeah.
cool.
And like you get to help them overcome that anxiety.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know, the thing is, there's no like quick fix for it.
Yeah.
And I would say, you know, my students that come in, they're just terrified. They're going to learn some new skills. And there's so many strategies for overcoming communication apprehension, but it's really just, you have to keep going and practicing and putting one foot in front of the other. And I think that's where it's just a slow journey. And it's like, if you want it, it's possible. And if not, you know, you're going to
Yeah.
kind of stay in that same place. But I think that's with anything really in life, right?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And I say, like, my motto is like, on the first day, I'm like, I can't judge me.
Yeah.
You can't judge me. Only God can judge me. And
Yeah.
like, I'm like, that doesn't have to be your belief.
Yeah.
But in my experience, I feel like sometimes we just think so much about what someone else thinks
Oh,
about us.
yes.
And then we also like feel our own judgment.
Yes.
Where we're like so hard on ourselves. We want to be
Yes.
perfect. And I struggle with this still. And so it's like my advice to myself is like, because sometimes I say weird things, like 100% in front of the class, or, you know, just in life. And I'm like, wait. And I tell them, focus on your heart.
Yeah.
Like, are you trying? That's the important thing. Did you practice? That's the important thing. Because you might have practiced really well and prepared really well, but you came in and your delivery was just off. There's a lot of noise that we have in our heads, you know, with maybe it's a physical noise, but generally it's like emotional or relational. And we might be thinking about, and that just kind of gets in the way sometimes
Yeah.
of being able to perform.
Yeah.
And so you have to go back to like, okay, I can't judge myself. Like, I did everything possible to do the best I could.
Yeah.
And I can't worry about what all these other people are thinking either. Like, only God can judge me.
Yeah.
And focus on your heart. And again, that change doesn't happen overnight, but I think it will get there if
Yeah.
you keep that. I have a little pamphlet that I put in my bathroom because I
Oh.
struggle so much with like worrying about what other people think about me. And it goes in seasons. Like right now, I wouldn't say I'm in that season, but there are seasons where it's hard. And it's called The Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness. And it's just this little pamphlet. It's just like, it's such a good reminder that like, oh wait, like when I walk past the mirror, do I stop to be like, wow? Or do I stop to be like, ew?
Yeah.
Like, I should just walk past the mirror. I'm thinking way too much about myself
Yeah.
right now. And I really need to be thinking about who is my audience,
Yeah.
and really trying to engage and relate. And like, why am I even up here? It's
Yeah.
to leave a lasting impression to teach them something new, whatever the overall goal is. So it's a journey for sure.
Yeah, it
But
is.
I do feel passionate about it.
It is. And that is like, I feel like I'm always hard on myself. Yeah. And I try. I'm like, no, it's fine. And then I go back to being hard on myself. But there's times where I am like, oh, it's fine, you know, let loose or whatever.
And it really it was like totally a self-help book, but which I'm kind of like so over self-help books, you know? But it was like the spiral of like toxic thoughts. And I read like literally half of it and I stopped. It was enough for me. I was like, okay, I have a choice. You know, you like start spiraling. It can just be like the wrong thing that you feel like you said or and that has been helpful to be like, wait, I have a choice, you know, and like I don't have to dwell on like the weird thing that I just said.
Yeah.
Or like I have that choice. I don't have to. And if I truly offended someone, like I can apologize and move on.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, because I've had sometimes like people text me like, and this like I feel like used to be me. It would be like, I'm really sorry, and I'm like, literally, I didn't even remember you said that.
Yeah.
But again, I think it goes back to like we're just internalized because we're thinking about ourselves.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to not, I don't know, to me, sometimes it's hard. And like, I feel that I don't want to be judged. Like, don't judge me.
Yeah. And that's too, it's like fear of judgment, fear of failure. Like, there's another one. But for me, I'm like, even thinking about like coming onto this podcast, I was like, I don't do this every day.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, am I afraid? And I was like, well, I'm not afraid to fail. Like, I talk a lot. Like, I'll be able to keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid of judgment. Like, what if I say the wrong thing?
Yes.
Or what if I'm not? And that's where you have to just, for me, I just have to apply. You know what? I'm just going to try to be myself. I know where my heart is.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. God.
Yeah.
You know?
No, but yeah. And you know, all this reminds me of today we had a talent show.
Oh, really? At school?
At school. It was so cute. And those kids were so little and they were like not afraid.
Isn't that beautiful?
To stand in front of like all the students and parents. There was parents there. And like sing.
But the parents weren't, it was the little kids that were doing the talents?
The little kids were doing the talent show.
Okay.
But the parents came in to watch their kids.
Okay.
So whoever kid was presenting in the talent show was able to come and watch the talent show. But the whole school was watching. Yeah. The whole school was there.
But they weren't afraid.
They weren't afraid.
The beauty of childhood.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
To be a little child. But again,
and they're so little. There was little ones that were there singing, dancing, doing gymnastics, and like one was playing the violin, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Or the piano. Yeah. But it reminded me of me when I think I was like in 5th grade. Me and my friend would do those talent shows. And now I'm like, I wish my kids could do that here, but not every school does that. Yeah. Not every school does talent shows.
That's what I think it's important to be exposed at a younger age. Like we aren't homeschooling anymore. I mean, I still feel like I am with my younger kids because it's so fun. Like it's my favorite part of my day, like doing educational things with them. But our older two, they go to school now. But when we were homeschooling, we were part of a co-op where they had presentations every week. I was like literally 4, 5, 6 years old. And it wasn't for like, okay, they have all the organization down. They're saying the perfect things, but it was just for that exposure of being able to stand in front of someone or in front of an audience and just be able to get up. And so you like kind of lose that fear.
Yeah.
You're like exposed to it when you're younger, like consistently. And I really loved that. Like I still feel like that's so valuable.
Yeah. Did you ever do a talent show
when
you were younger?
No, I was so shy. I would have never.
I remember doing one in roller skates.
Really?
Yes.
See, so that was you. How old were you?
I think I was like 10.
Oh, that is so precious.
And you know Ricky Martin?
I was like a little sheltered. Ricky
well,
Martin.
it's this song, Vive la Vida Loca.
Okay.
You don't know that song? Well, it was that song.
I probably
Maybe,
would,
yeah.
Whenever people reference things, I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I'm not very good with names.
Well, it was the song, Vive la Vida Loca.
Okay.
And I remember me and my friend, we were in roller skates dancing to that song.
That is so fun. You'll have to send me that song later. I'm gonna picture you.
And like I think we participated in maybe like 3 different talent shows because, I'm from California.
Wait, I forgot that.
Yeah, I'm from
Oh
California.
my goodness, I just want to talk about California now.
So we live by the beach,
Okay.
and so it's a port like fresh like fish and lobsters, and so
Wow.
a lot of people come from like the around areas just to eat,
To get like the fresh seafood.
just to get that
Okay.
fresh seafood because it's like a fresh market.
Okay.
So that fresh market one year had a talent show that we would have to call the lobsters out and like come out so that we can eat the fresh lobsters. But we had to make up like a song or a play or something. It was a contest.
Okay.
And we won 3rd place. And I
Just
think
you
we
and your
got like
friend,
$200.
or-
Yeah, just me and my friend. But we had to like create and make up this like story of how are we going to get the lobsters out so we can eat the lobster.
Okay. So they were like in the ocean, or
It was just a play.
more of like a
It was a play,
Okay.
like a play to compete,
okay.
like who did the best show.
Okay. So it wasn't like
No. It wasn't like we were calling
don't
out the
know much
lobster.
about lobsters,
No.
but I'm like-
No, it was just like a play.
Okay.
Like a play, and we had to like,
And you got 3rd place.
and we got 3rd place.
That's so fun.
And we got, I think, like $200. They gave
That's
us like
impressive.
$200. But it was fun
young
because
kid,
we
that's a
had
lot
to
of money.
create this like whole scenario of like, okay, how are we going to call the lobster? How are we going to sing? How are we going to, perform? Or what are we going to say? What are we going to do just to win that prize?
Yeah. And you did it.
And we did it. It was fun.
That's so fun. And that's what it's like, the specific, like the special giftings of each child. It's just like you have to go
Yeah.
with it. Like if they're not into it.
I
Like last year
know.
my daughter was so into it and she was in the spelling bee. She ended up being able to like
Oh,
go up on
nice.
stage. But then this year she was like, Mom, I was terrified.
Yeah.
And so I think she's like, I just kind of want to observe this year and then maybe next year I'll
Try.
try again. And I'm like, I get that. You can't push it. You can't force it.
Yeah. So going back to you getting pregnant in Mexico.
Mhm.
You know what's funny? I have a friend that every time she goes to Mexico, she gets pregnant.
That's literally what people are like, don't go back to Mexico.
Yeah. I don't know
And I
what it
was-
is.
I guess it's just, that's where it happens. in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah. And she went a few years ago and then came back, got pregnant. And then she went again not too long ago. And now
Well, the
she's
funny
pregnant
thing
again.
is, so the first time we went to Mexico, my son I was 8 weeks pregnant with our second.
Okay.
The next time we just had the 2 and I was not pregnant. And that's where I was like, this is so fun. I can drink a little margarita. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
as nauseous, like traveling through the mountains and all of that. But then we got pregnant. So then the next time we took the twins when they were a year and a half. And that was a crazy
Oh,
experience.
How did you do
A crazy experience. And I was pregnant. And honestly, I don't know why we did that. We did it because I'm like to follow the plan.
Yeah.
We were going to go every 2 years. But looking back, I actually had some complications there and I started bleeding. And so I went to a doctor
In
and it was
Mexico?
such a different experience. Yes. And he was like, you're having a boy. And so we thought our 5th was a boy and she's totally a girl.
Wow.
But I had like some sort of cyst or something that like bled and there was no problems with the baby.
Yeah.
I think just because we were like in the back of the truck, like bumping along, like when we went to the water park.
Oh, yeah, because the
But-
roads are
yeah.
bumpy.
I was pregnant and then one of the twins, he gets car sick. And when you're traveling through the mountains, he literally like puked like every single time, which I get because I get car sick too. And then on the plane, we were like, we're just gonna go through the night because the twins will just sleep there. We'll just have them on us in wraps. Literally, the plane hadn't even left, and he pukes all over me, like all over. I was like, what are we doing?
And you had both?
So I was pregnant and I had a year and a half old twin on me. My
Oh, just
husband had the
one
other
of the
one.
twins.
And
Okay, okay.
it's crazy because he's so calm and doesn't get like, again, he was probably not afraid of like what people were thinking. But I'm
Yeah.
just like, you have to be quiet. Like, you can't be crying. Just go to sleep. I think they could probably feel my anxiety almost, like my heart just
Yeah.
beating. So yeah, there was that. But as far as like raising the twins, I feel like I was like when it comes to like I was like we're going to Mexico every 2 years because that's what we had decided.
Yeah.
That's part of the plan. But when the twins were babies, like I was very scheduled. I remember reading a book that was like we sleep trained them, and I had them on a routine where it's like they
Uh-huh.
would take like 4 naps during the day. I would like wake them, feed them, they would play, and then they would fall back asleep. Like it was exhausting. Like I remember writing on the board, like I would have this whiteboard and I would write like which one fed on this side, which one fed on that side, like all
Oh.
the details. And I breastfed them too. So I breastfed them like strictly until they were like 11 months. So I remember just having like a lot of back pain, and because it was just like constantly like
Yeah.
just carrying both of them, feeding both of them, and then sometimes one would wake up before another one. So I was like, oh, I'll just quick do a feeding. But then I would be in the middle of a feeding and the other one would wake up and would start crying. It's like, okay, what do I do? So then sometimes I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna put this one down. I'm gonna run up the stairs, get the other one. But then this one would start
Yeah.
crying. Just there were so many, and I should have, looking back, I should have like binky trained them, like pacifiers, like,
Yeah.
but they just didn't really take to them like in the hospital. And so they never were like, if they weren't on the boob, like they were just like
Not
not so
happy.
happy.
Yeah.
So I think I could have done things so much different, but I do just feel like I was literally running around like a crazy person the entire day.
And do you think it was because you wanted to stick to your like scheduled planned
Well, that is the only thing that I feel like kept us sane at the
that
same
kept
time
you
because they
okay?
went to bed. So they would actually go to bed. This is going to be crazy at 4:30 p.m. That's when they would go to bed for the night. But then they would wake up at like 4:30 a.m. Like somehow they just got into that schedule. So they would sleep like 12 hours. Like it was incredible.
But
Thank
would you
goodness.
sleep?
I wouldn't go to bed at 4:30, no.
Oh,
But I would
okay.
go to bed at like 8:30 or 9:30 and still get a great night's rest. But I mean,
Yeah.
they were, I feel like for years, especially in the winter, like we were all getting up at like 5 a.m. or before and starting our day. It would be like 2 hours of darkness before it's even. And
Yeah.
it just felt normal. Like it was just normal life. And I think that's the thing I appreciate the most today is like this morning, for example, like some of my kids have coughs and that stresses me out. Like I want my kids to always be healthy.
Yeah.
But I was just sitting at the table with the three little ones. The other two are at school, and I'm like, this is wonderful. One of them is playing with kinetic sand, the other one is painting, the other one is doing some sort of like tracing, and I'm like reading, and is this even real life?
Yeah.
Like no one is crying. And I
Yeah.
think you have to go through some of those like hard times to like
Mhm.
really appreciate
Mhm.
like the simplicity of things. And
Yes.
actually, one of my friends, she gave me a gratitude journal during that time.
Oh.
And I remember feeling so overwhelmed. And it was just like 3 things you're thankful for. And it could be like literally the sunlight, like a sip of
Mhm.
coffee, like the simplest things. But
Mhm.
it really helped to just kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
there's good. Like, we're
Yes.
gonna make it.
Yeah. So you would journal all of that?
I would journal, but it was even hard. Like it sounds crazy, but like it was even hard to like journal back then because there was just someone always climbing on me. There's hardly any moments where like
Yeah.
I could just, you know, um but now like recently like this year one of my goals is to like read, it's just to read 24 books, which is nothing. But it's so wonderful cuz I can like read while the kids are playing.
Yeah.
And part of me feels a little bit lazy, but I'm like, this is amazing that I
Yeah.
can just read and they're playing and no one's crying.
Yeah. Like it changed now that they're older.
Yeah, it's just those little things. Or
Mhm.
sometimes I would like journal a prayer. Like I would just be like, this
Yeah.
is so simple, but just wanting to like go back to the basics,
Yeah.
I think, sometimes to get through the hard times. And it
Yeah.
wasn't all hard. Like, and you get so much attention for having twins. Like when I was pregnant, I mean, I was like huge. I was so big. And everyone is like just checking in on you. And that
Yeah.
part was kind of fun. I'm not going to lie. Like I'm a people person. And so it was fun. But like, those people, like people can't really help you. You have to go through it. And like
Mhm.
I am so thankful for my community, my mom, like so many people like helped, but like it's 24/7 on you, on your
Yeah.
family, you know?
I think it's good to feel that support also. Like, you know that they're there at least, like, hey, how are you?
Mhm.
How's your day?
Yeah. But it was so precious. Honestly, that was like one of my favorite days of my entire life. Having the twins. I kept being like, "Are you sure? Are you sure there's twins? Like I can't see them." I literally
Yeah.
never wanted to have twins. Like that was just something that didn't even like, some people are like, "Oh, I would love to have twins."
Yeah.
But that wasn't like a dream of mine. It's just like the shock of my life when we found out. I
Yeah.
was like, "Wait, what? This doesn't run in our family?" What? Like I
How?
was so shocked. But
Yeah.
then they were there, they were here, and they're like just so healthy. And I feel like you're on that like twin or newborn high for like the first 4 months. It wasn't until about 4 months when I would have like mental breakdowns like every 3 weeks. And it
Oh.
was just like, I am so overwhelmed. This is so hard and it's never gonna end. Like I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel because every day I would wake up and do the same thing. Feed them,
Yeah.
change their diapers, make sure they are good, and repeat, and then take care of my older kids and just try to manage everything. And I think just for my personality, I've always been a go-getter. I've always been like an achiever. And so to be like so out of control or not like
Mm-hmm.
not I mean I had systems and we had schedules, but I almost just hated that too. Like we
Yeah.
have to like literally for like 3 years, like we had to like leave family things like Christmas and Thanksgiving, like and we probably could have done it another way, but I think because we were on such a routine, then we could get like breathers. If we
Yeah.
hadn't had any routine, I think it would have been more crazy for us at home. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, in retrospect, I don't know if, yeah.
You're a superwoman.
I did not
You
feel people that
are
say that all the time. And I'm like, no, I
superwoman.
don't feel like it. I'm like crying all
Yeah.
the time. Like,
And like they say, God doesn't give you more
handle.
than you can
But see,
handle.
I
Yeah.
remember one time being like, God, where are you? Like literally, I need you right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
and I think this was when my husband was working like late. So it was like me and they were sick. And it was like so much for me. Or maybe they were like getting out, they would jump out of their cribs. Like they started doing that for now. Like my,
I remember those
I,
days.
and I was like, you literally have to take a nap.
Yeah.
This was when they were like, older and like they knew. But I was like, so I'd like put them back in and then they would just go, and I would do that for like an hour. Like, and maybe I just shouldn't have given them a nap, but it's like the family needed that.
Yeah.
And so it's just times like that where I felt like, where is God? But I
Yeah.
think looking back again, it's like, I think God allows you to go through things to like build like
Mm-hmm.
the patience or the
Mm-hmm.
wisdom or
Mm-hmm.
the character that I wouldn't have. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes when I look back, it's like, oh, I breastfed. I like wanted to homeschool. Like I cloth diaper, like these things that
Yeah.
like felt important to me. And looking back, I'm like, you know, I put too high of importance on the certain things. And I think sometimes that's the point of like going through hard things. You realize, okay, at the end of the day, it's like, that's not where I really care about,
Yeah.
And I think you have to learn that almost the hard way.
Yeah.
So
But I think it's good that you tried.
thank you.
I think it is. Because then otherwise you would have been like, oh, I didn't try it. Oh, what if it worked? What if?
Maybe.
So I think it's good that you tried it
I
and that you
appreciate
realized
that.
this isn't a good idea. But it's good that you tried.
Yeah. Yeah, I did give it my all.
Yeah.
I did give it my all. I don't know how much longer I could have
Yeah.
kept going at that pace. I
Yeah.
remember I started a blog back then. Like I wrote a post on day in the life with twins. And I remember I sent it to my mom and she was like, I literally can't even read that. Because she'd had 7 kids and it like pulled her back into like the crazy days of like so many demands and so many needs and just the nonstop.
Yeah.
And honestly, now I feel that way. Like I wouldn't even want to go back and read that blog because like from 4:30 a.m. or 5, whenever, until like it is just one thing after another. And I remember I journaled. I like wanted to keep track of all the things I did in one day.
Yeah.
And I am so glad that that's not where we're at today.
Yeah.
It wasn't all negative. Like I remember feeling like there's so much hope. And I think that's like what's empowering is like there's so much hope, but I would never want to do it again.
Yeah.
But
And
for
do you
all
still have that?
the
Like
blog,
to watch?
I do. I could pull up the blog, but it's like private. Like no one, the
No,
public could.
yeah,
But
but
I
like,
could read through it. Yeah.
and how do you feel when you go back through that?
Yeah. I just feel like was that my life? I feel like overwhelmed for that version of me and us. And I'm just really thankful that we made it through.
That you made it through.
And like my daughter, she's like, I want you to have more kids. And I'm like shocked because I feel like at that season, like she just heard so much crying. Like, how would
Yeah.
you? But, kids don't feel the stress like adults.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of beautiful that she said that.
Yeah. So you think there's things that you would change?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would not potty train them at that age. And so for example, I would be feeding my newborn, our baby number 5, and then one of the twins had to go to the bathroom. So I'd have to like put her down
Mm.
and then like run and take that. And they could just be like pooping in the corner in their diaper. Like, I'll get to it. You'll be fine. But it was like always that like right away. Like there was no like just what is the word? I'm stalling on the correct word. But it was just that like I can't think of the word, but just always having to be ready and never
Yeah.
knowing. Or then like they would have an accident and I would just be like, I would try to be so positive, like positive reinforcement, but I was just like, why did I?
Yeah. Like it was you almost had to be like on the go like all the time.
Yeah. And I remember for a while when I would plan it perfectly. So they would like take a nap on the way to somewhere, like my parents' house or my sister who lives in Indy or some event. And then we would be there, but we could only be there for 2 hours because then they would sleep on the way home. Like I had their naps like perfectly arranged like
Oh,
that.
okay.
And that was kind of fun, but it was just also overwhelming because it was just everything was so scheduled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now like this summer, I just can't wait to like just want to go to like the creeks and I just want to like just
Yeah.
let the kids explore and not have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there.
And do you feel like time went by fast or during that time was it like slow for you?
I
Like,
feel like it was just really like disciplined me and my husband. Like I feel like I, as we were like those routines or just like taking care of babies,
yeah.
like we just had to be, and I think it was good, but it felt like it was never going to end.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I'm talking about it as if it was like all negative. It was really fun, like dressing them matching and like taking pictures of
Yeah.
them. And like I said, whenever we would go places, like everyone wanted to see the twins. But it was just like I was always like as the mother, you're always trying to be like a step ahead. And I
Yeah.
think that just kind of got to me after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you had a baby really soon too, so that it was like 3.
Yeah, I feel like I was very grumpy during that. I was just grumpy because I was like big and pregnant and like not feeling the best. And in the Bible, it was like, the Lord's ways are better than my ways. Like, this seems like the worst plan for our family.
Yeah.
But there was hope there that, like, you know what? Like, the Creator has a better plan for us. And now I'm like, and I do remember when the twins were in such a hard toddler stage, she would be like in her little rocker, and I'd be like, oh, you just can't walk past a little baby that looks so precious and not be like, oh,
Yeah.
you're so sweet. I love you so much. And so I'm like, maybe it was that, just like giving us a kind of momentum or something
Yeah.
for those really hard toddler years of the twins.
Yeah.
But they're literally wonderful now. They are so fun. Like, it is so cool to see their different personalities.
Oh.
Like my girl twin, she is just a go-getter. She literally always wants to do the next thing. She can't wait for school. She is just like loves hanging out with friends, super social. Like, and then my son, the other twin, he is like introverted but super stubborn. Like he like will just play with like toys and is like in his own world. But then he's like the sweetest to his sisters. Like it's so cool to see
Oh,
them. But they're best
yeah.
friends. They are like a little yeah. And I'm like, I'm so glad I have twins now. Like,
Yeah.
especially because I care about relationships a lot. And I'm like, I get to watch them grow up.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, nothing is as hard as it was back then.
Yeah.
Of just the physical demands of
Yes.
keeping them alive.
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of pressure on myself. I think, I don't know if you've ever done strengths finders where you have like your top 5 strengths, but one of my strengths is responsibility. So I think I just put so much pressure on myself
Yeah.
that I was responsible. Like I need to keep them alive
Yeah.
and do a good job at it.
Yeah.
And I wish, looking back, I would have asked for more help. But back then, I felt so insecure when people would come to my house and it would be a mess.
Mm.
I would feel like I needed to completely clean up before they even came over, and that was just more overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I actually had like it was called a mother's helper, where this girl who wasn't she was like a teen, but she would come over for a couple hours a week and help me, and that was a blessing for sure. But also it was almost more stressful because I felt like I needed to entertain her. And so I'm
Oh.
like, why? But I think I've learned now we have like sitters who come and help us out. And I'm so thankful. And I'm like, you know what? I'm paying you. So, like,
Yeah.
if there's some downtime, like, you can clean the house a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not cleaning for you. Like, I do it for myself because I truly love my head feels clear when like everything is decluttered
Yeah.
and clean. Like your house is so clean. Like,
Oh
are you
no,
kidding me?
I don't think
It
so.
is. It is. But so just like that feels good to me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But when you have 3 kids,
Oh
2 and
yeah.
under, it's impossible.
Oh
Or that's
yeah.
literally all you do.
Oh
And I don't
yeah.
want to be that parent, but I would put a lot of pressure on myself. Like if someone is going to come over, even to like bring us a meal or
Mhm.
to like help out, I need to like get ready for them. And so it almost was just harder. But I wish looking back, I could have just been like, Mom, come over for the day and
Yeah.
hang out with us and just like really let her help.
Yeah. I
So,
know, cause like I wish I had my mom close when I had
yeah.
my kids, and she's so far.
Is she in California?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would she come to visit?
She would, but not while I had my babies. She'd come like after, maybe a year after.
Oh,
So my
wow.
pregnancy, when I was in the
Your
hospital,
postpartum.
my everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And with my second boy, I went through the postpartum. She was
Depression.
there for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. It was
Does
bad.
that seem like a distant memory to you? Like, can you even remember
Oh,
her?
I
Like,
remember.
okay.
I
How long did it
remember.
last?
Um, Maybe for like a month,
Okay.
because during that time, um, we had family come visit,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that helped.
Yeah, you
Me
kind of are
seeing
like
my
distracted.
family, yes. I
Mm-hmm.
think that helped. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe I would have needed help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not wrong to get help. And
Yeah,
that's where
it's
I think
not.
it's just like our pride and like
Yeah.
we want to do it all ourselves. Or then like we don't, it's hard to know how to ask or we feel like embarrassed.
Yeah.
And all of that is just so ridiculous.
I know. And at, but see, this is what's crazy, because when I went through that, I didn't know that I had depression or that I had the
Mm-hmm.
postpartum depression. Now I know, because I'm like, why would I think the way that I was thinking? Because I didn't want the baby. Like I didn't want
Oh, yeah.
nothing to do with,
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't want to carry him, change him, hold him, feed him. I didn't breastfeed him because
That is so
I was like, no, I don't want him. And that's part of the postpartum depression.
absolutely. Yeah.
So now I know that's what I
Yeah.
had. But my mom would see it and she didn't think that I had anything.
Mm-hmm.
She would tell me, aren't you going to feed the baby? He's
Mm-hmm.
crying. Are you going
Mm-hmm.
to change him? He needs a diaper change. Are you going to? And I was just like,
You just zoned out.
mm-hmm.
Well, I remember thinking, and this is gonna sound terrible, but I remember there was a story about a mom who like went to the top of a parking garage and jumped off with her kids.
Oh,
And it's like so heartbreaking. But I remember hearing that story and I was like in the thick of it, where it was like, this is never gonna end. I was like, I can see how
mm-hmm.
like it sounds so crazy, but you're like and now like I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But when you're in the middle of it and
Yeah.
it's just so demanding, and that's where it's like, oh my goodness, get some help. Ask
Yeah.
someone to help you. But I remember telling that with my to my husband for like a couple days. I remember being like, I can resonate with that. Like
Yeah.
I can't even like hardly I'm like, why did I just say that? But
But
also it's very real. I was like, when you start to be like, I hate this. Like I cannot do it all. Like
yeah.
I can't. But now, my sister just had her 5th baby, and my best friend just had her 3rd baby. And I went to, like literally within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I just went to visit both of them. Like, you know exactly what a mom needs, like
Yeah.
all the snacks, like the cute outfits.
Yeah.
And when I like stepped into each of their homes, it was so beautiful. And I'm like, I'm not looking at the mess.
Yeah.
First of all, their houses weren't even messy. But I'm like, I don't care that your other kids don't have their hair done. Like
Yeah.
literally this amazing little newborn, like your family just seems so precious.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you don't feel that way. You have all the hormones. You
Mm-hmm.
have the like huge boobs that are just like, you can hardly even like, and not ever, like
Yes.
if you don't breastfeed like
Yeah.
that, but that was like my
Yeah.
experience. Or like you're just hurting, you're just like
Yeah.
kind of in pain, or you're just like, I'm going to be waking up every 2 to 3 hours for how long? Like it's very real. And so, but it does, like the seasons change.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
And so I think I'm like, if we can make it through
Mm-hmm.
those years, we can make it through the teen years.
Oh,
Like,
no,
no?
those are worse. No.
Literally don't say that.
Oh, no, I'd rather have those baby years than the teen years.
Oh my.
Because then they have a girlfriend, and then they go out, and then they don't come home. And it's like, where are you?
It's a whole new set.
Yes.
The hard doesn't stop.
It's in a different way, though.
Yeah.
Like when they're babies, yeah, the whole they put something in their mouth or you need to change the diaper. Little thing. I feel like that's, I don't know.
So what do I need to like be aware of?
Now I
what?
see it differently and
Okay.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd rather have those baby years than this teenage years. Cause yeah, my oldest has his I don't want to talk about her because I don't know if she watches. Like he has his girlfriend and yeah, like I didn't know he went to Indy yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking he's out here somewhere.
Yeah.
But then you go to find out, oh, he went all the way to Indianapolis.
See, it's like it comes full circle. Like you're still out of control.
I want to have control, but I feel like I don't.
Okay. I need to prepare myself right now for that. Yeah.
No, but you have a long way to go.
Yeah, but it goes so fast.
It does go fast.
But you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's when
Years.
I feel that with my oldest, I have no control anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, you really don't. Like
No.
you've done your job. And that's another thing though in this season. It's like I do want to like give it my all because if I
Mhm.
think about my life, like say I live to 80, which is kind of I don't know. Who knows? I don't really think I want to live to 80. But if I do, it's like these years are like like a fourth of my life. That's not
Yeah.
that long. And it's like I do just want to give it my all because it does go really fast.
Yeah.
And then I can like do all that. Like I want to do so much with my husband. Like I want to like take dance classes together and I want to like work
Oh.
out together and I want to like travel with him and like just been, I feel like we have good time now. Like it took us a while to figure it out, but like we'll spend just time in the evenings, like an hour
Yeah.
before bed where we just like talk, hash out the day and stuff. But still, but I'm like, you know what? Like this is not going to be the rest of our lives. Like it's
Yeah.
just a season.
It is.
But the thing is, like what you're saying, like once you have kids, you never don't have kids.
Yeah.
Like, and then even they move out, they get married or not, or
Yes.
whatever, they're traveling. There's always that like mama
Oh, yeah.
heart that's
Oh, yeah.
concerned.
Yeah. During the summer, he wants to go out to like Ohio. And I'm like, no, please.
What's in Ohio?
Why? And I'm
What
like,
could happen in Ohio?
I'm always worried though. Every time he goes out, like
Yeah.
I just worry so much.
Do you worry because you are reflecting on like when you were that age?
I-
Or
I don't know. I'm always worried because I don't want anything bad to happen to him.
I know.
Which he always gets mad at me because he's like, Mom, you are calling those bad things to happen. Stop saying that and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I just want you to be careful because things can happen. Like just be careful what you do. Don't speed if you don't have to speed. I'm just always so worried.
Yeah.
And
How do
so
you like cope with that now? Like what are your coping strategies currently?
just try to like
We have our wine.
I know.
Our wine. This is literally the best wine.
Yeah, but I think I'm just like leaving it to God
Yeah.
and just hope for nothing bad to happen, I really don't have any strategies. I'm just like always, because now the other day, he told me, he's like, Mom, every time I drive, I think of you now. And I'm
You're
like,
good.
good. I'm like, that's good. He's
You're in
like,
his
Mom,
head.
every time I'm driving, I think of you. I'm like, well, that's good.
Well, and I think the reality is that, like, I think we live in a time period of information overload where, like, literally you go to the grocery store and there's like gazillion types of cereal. Like, how do you even know which one to choose? But, like, not only that, it's just like news, like, constantly. Like, so here's an interesting
Yes.
thing. I guess, according to the textbook that I use at Purdue, it says that there's more information being produced every 2 days than from the dawn of civilization until 2003.
Oh,
And that is crazy.
yeah.
Because if you think about all the information that is constantly like you're having to like sift through, like you're hearing about all the terrible things that happen in the world, all
Yeah.
the deaths, all the
Yeah.
accidents, all the crazy, the shootings, and just like all the like big, like the LA fire, like literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like anything could happen to our kids.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying. But I think that's where it's like, okay, I know, like, for me, that's why, like, one reason why, like, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook very much. I just, like, I can't hear all about it because
Yeah.
it's like, I know what my job is right now and I'm trying to do the best I can.
Mm-hmm.
And when I start getting clouded by, like, all the things that can happen, literally, I just spiral, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that you are that superwoman, super mom. And you inspire me a lot. And I will never forget like how much you helped me, and I learned a lot from you.
That is so kind. You're my favorite student.
Yeah.
For real.
No, because
I
I
didn't
do.
even see you as a student. It was like
No.
we're like the same age and you're just rocking it. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for coming.
Absolutely. It was so
Thank
good
you.
to see you again.
It was nice to see you too. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all the support. And don't forget to subscribe and comment. And this was another episode of Letty's Podcast. Thank you.